Hello, my name is Pat Bohse and welcome to SCAN. SCAN stands for Social Community Activities Network, and we have been providing social education services for adults 50 and over in Monmouth and Ocean County for the last 28 years. It is my pleasure today to have one of our students, plus an author of a children's book, Nick Marinello, to be with us. Hello.
Hi, Pat.
I'm happy to see you.
Nice to be here.
So, and before we get into the book, which is my favorite, I would like for you to tell me a little bit about how do you come to our table in regards to your background and what classes you take with us now.
Well, I'm a retired compliance / auditor on Wall Street for 40 years.
Wow.
And like I said in my book, I went from Wall Street to Dog Street, and my clients got better. And after I retired when I was 62, I had promised myself I would go back to art school and finish a book that I started many years ago.
So it was your bucket list stuff?
That's what people say. It's on my bucket list. I don't like referring it to like that because there's a finality of bucket list.
So with all of those years of experience on Wall Street, and then you retired, and then when did you become a member of SCAN?
I think I've been a member for about 4 years.
4 wonderful years.
Wonderful years. And I started in a general art class just to get back into the swing of things. And after doing that for a couple of years, I saw another course from another teacher. I remember the name of it because I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
It was called art journaling.
Okay.
And it caught my interest because I had no idea what art journaling was.
And what is it?
Well, essentially it's documenting a particular thing, whether it's your day, whether it's a trip, and then illustrating the event. And you create a journal. So it gave me the idea of taking a story that I had written almost 20 years ago on the death of my dog, that my brother had said to me, when you retire, why don't you do the illustrations? Because he's a graphic artist, and he always said that I was a better artist. So I said, well, I'll try it when I retire. So that's how it came about.
So then let's now start talking about the book and the journey in regards to writing this book, because I do know that it was a journey, yes. And you came into my office often to keep me up to date on the details. So why don't you start telling us how it happened?
Well, it was a learning experience in the sense that I had written the story. So I thought this was going to be easy, but nothing is easy in life. And I went to my first art classes, which was the basic classes. And then I said, when I went to the art journaling class, well, maybe I can tie it in. And I started the illustrations. And the illustrations essentially took about a year and a half. So
really?
that part of the journey was actually very short.
Okay.
It was getting it printed, going online, finding the course, getting a graphic artist, because I knew nothing about any of this stuff. And actually the humorous part about it is my brother is a graphic artist.
Okay.
And I purposely didn't use him. Which,
well, I understand that.
Which has endeared me. But there was a reason for that, because I wanted to do it separate and surprising.
So tell us what the name of the book is, and can we see the illustration?
The name of the book is Annie's Rules.
Okay.
And the cover, which I'll show, was actually done not in sequence.
Okay.
It was strange. I did 14 illustrations, and I purposely didn't do the illustrations to go along with the story. I did them separate, not in sequence, because it helps in the development of the story. But this cover was probably around the 6th or 7th illustration, and I decided this represented the story and the dog, and that's why I chose it.
So do you want to just tell us a little bit about the story before we get into how you published this?
Okay, the story's about a day in the life of Annie. Now, people that know dogs and breeds, because I have had dogs my whole life, Annie was a West Highland Terrier. or as we call them, Westies.
Okay.
And she was a typical Westie in the sense that she had an attitude about her. Like there are dogs and there are breeds. Westies think we're on this earth for them.
Got it.
Where dogs are supposed to be on this earth for us.
Well, there's probably a few other breeds out there too who might think the same way.
But this is a day in her life.
Okay.
And how she spent her day. And actually it's a story not only about a child's story about the day in the life, but it's a story about us and how we spend our life. Because we have people that are in the past, we have people that are in the future, that spend their life in the past and the future. And nobody spends it like a dog, which is here.
Today.
Today. And this is a day of her, but it was a day every day, the same day.
And she lived for the day.
And the same walk.
Yeah.
So this is what it's about.
Okay. So while we are encouraging people to purchase it and or go view it, tell us the journey in regards to publishing and getting it printed and getting it on the shelf, so to speak, in local stores.
Well, my art teacher, the second one, knew somebody who was a graphic artist. So once I did all the pictures, we had to get a graphic artist.
Okay.
And then the graphic artist takes your pictures to transform them into a document that can be used by printers. Publishing or getting a child's book published is almost impossible.
Why?
Because they don't want to do it unless you're famous, and they wait, so you self-publish. And self-publishing, whether you do it on Amazon, whether you do it in stores, there's a consignment fee. So in other words, if the book sells for $16, they want 35% of the 16.
Got it.
And the printing cost, usually associated with a book, will run anywhere from $5 to $10.
So I'm a member of the National Speakers Association, and we often get people, presenters, who come to talk us about publishing and writing that book to make one become famous. And yes, and it sounds very painful even when they explain it. But there are companies for a fee that can take your idea and your words and your illustration and run with it. But you know, between being published and self-published, it's two different separate worlds.
That's correct.
And but I have to tell you, I'm giving you kudos for going through the process and writing this book and having it printed. I know that you're in your second edition. And so what does that mean to you?
Well, I did the story as a catharsis for me, for losing the dog. And essentially did it for my grandchildren, my nieces and nephews, so that when I pass, they will have something to remember me.
Well, that's right.
Because they don't want my stuff. So at least they'll have something. And because this generation, they don't want what you say for them, that you have. But something like this, they could say for their children, to read to them.
So was that in the back of your mind, or that just was a byproduct of going through the process?
Well, that was always the purpose.
Okay.
It kind of segued into, I did volunteer work at Monmouth Medical. And I had another dog that was a Westie that was not Annie. Her name actually was Abby Rose. And I used to do volunteer work at the hospital where I used to visit the kids that had cancer. And I did the book for them too, so they could have it.
So you're really very well-rounded. I mean, coming from the financial world for 40 years, and then coming into the SCAN world, where you took classes, produced a book. You also volunteer in the hospital for a worthy cause, and your dogs were always part of your persona, I believe. And so I do know that, you know, it's hard to talk about them because I've been in your shoes. I mean, I've lost a boxer who was Rocky. And yeah, it's really, it's very, if you're not a dog person or, you know, have gone through what we've gone through, it's really hard to understand how we get so attached.
Well, I think that I like talking about it because each dog that I've had through my life got me through a journey. That's why it's so fascinating. I mean, Annie's journey was different. It was very joyous. And it was at the time of my life where I needed that journey. Mm-hmm. And my other dogs, and now I have a new dog that unfortunately will bring me to another journey. She's a rescue.
Yes.
So it's different, but dogs have always been part of my life.
So I'm assuming that there might be another book coming out in the future?
I think that once we recover from the loss of the dog and what she did, although Abby's story is much different than Annie, so we have to wait till she passes so I can remember the joyous moments.
Okay. So we have about 2 minutes left. I really would like to bring us back to SCAN, and again, what do you get out of your experience being here with us? And can you have any words of encouragement for other people to participate with us?
Well, SCAN has actually been a lifesaver, because when you're forced to retire at 62, you lose your identity as a person. And part of the classes introduce you to people and back into the world of where you can discuss things and you matter. I have to explain, especially being a senior executive who used to manage hundreds of people.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, you're gone.
Yeah.
Or as I used to call, invisible. And coming to SCAN and taking the classes, whether I took art classes, I took language classes, you meet people, you expand what you're doing, you find new interests, and you get back into the world. You get back into the real world where things matter.
And the one thing I love about SCAN is that each one of our classes is its own community. I mean, basically, I mean, you come together, you with your peers, you go out for lunch together, you're concerned about each other. So it's really a lot different than other places that I've been to or worked with or worked in, and so I'm really excited. And we have wonderful students who have incredible backgrounds, and so my saddest piece is that I've not had enough time to spend with all of you to get to know how you come to our table. So I really appreciate this opportunity to do it, and hopefully we can grow that going forward.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Okay. So we're going to take a break now, and I would like to thank Nick for being our guest, and we'll be back in a minute. Thank you.
Take it from me. Living with a chronic disease is no easy task, but I learned to better manage my health condition, and you can too. Take Control of Your Health is the chronic disease self-management program created by Stanford University. This fun, innovative course is now offered to all county residents. Diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, cancer. Take Control of Your Health gives proven strategies to manage these conditions and reclaim your life. See how nutrition, exercise, and various mind techniques can help you overcome depression, increase energy, and manage pain. You'll not only get this book when you participate, you'll also receive the guidance and support of others living with a chronic illness, just like you. Take control of your health in 6 short sessions.
Call the number on your screen to register or get further information at SCAN.NJ.com. Brought to you by SCAN, Social Community Activities Network, with funding made available by the Monmouth County Office on Aging.
Welcome back. My name is Pat Bohse, and I am the host to Welcome to SCAN. And for the second part of our show today, we have a fabulous guest who has history with SCAN. But before we talk about that, I really want for her to explain to us her rich background. So Flora Higgins, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm really pleased to have you here. For lots of reasons. One, not only are you so accomplished in what you do, but you're also one of ours. I mean, you're a teacher here in one of our classes, classic literature, and it meets weekly. And I know that you're doing a book this semester, which is a classic. So before we get into any of that, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Pat, when you asked me to concentrate on what I had done over the years, it seems to me I've done a lot of poetry, workshops and collections, and one of the ones I'm most proud of was the one I did at the Youth Detention Center in this turn of the century, 2002, 2003. The young people there were wonderful. I enjoyed working with them, and when they actually sat down to write some poetry, they came out with poems in 10 or 15 minutes that we decided to put into books, and
Sure.
we have 2 books here with the collection. Unfortunately, we could not attach their names to them because of the privacy issues of under 18 residents at the Youth Detention Center.
So let the audience see what the book looks like. It looks like it's very compact and easy to use and read. And
Can you move it about a little bit?
sure. And
I
then,
wanted to show them the inside.
okay.
I commented on each and every poem, on the poetic value of it and also the emotional value of it. And I hope these young people are doing okay now. Often the only difference between the residents in the Youth Detention Center and our own grandchildren is a lawyer and the wherewithal to pay for a lawyer. So I hope they're on their own now and doing okay.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, when I started my career, I was a volunteer probation officer.
Were you?
So I can understand, you know, your feelings in regards to that. And I even have a foster child as a result of that. She's 50 now, but when she was 14, it was a much different situation. But so let's talk about your professional background.
All right, I married young and had 4 children and decided I would like to stay home with him if I could, which I could, but I did volunteer work at the Highlands Public School Library. They had a beautiful library but no librarian, and the principal said, well, why don't you run it? I said, I don't know how to run a library. He said, we'll figure it out. So I did, and I had some wonderful volunteers, and so that's how I got started in the library world. And then I worked at Rumson, and I worked at Newark, and I worked at East Orange, and I worked at Belcourt, which was like a summer romance. It's a change of being a public librarian to being a corporate librarian. It was really interesting. I had no trouble at all with chem abstracts and IEEE, but when they came to me with their math questions, they might as well have been speaking Mandarin. But I had a lovely time there, and then I went back to the public library as a public relations librarian at Monmouth County. Gave lots of programs there, lots of poetry programs, and music programs, and programs with horses, and programs with corn on the cob. And we had a grand time.
Wow. So it's really very diverse as far as your background on the topics that you talked about.
Yes.
But I know that your love was always poetry.
Yeah.
And we have a bound book of poetry. Is this of yours?
This is a compilation of poems when I was working at the Newark Public Library, which is absolutely wonderful place. We put together a reading. We had 300 submissions. We juried it and took only the ones we felt would be the best. And then we put them in the book. And I wish I knew where these people were today, because I've been rereading the poems, because I'm actually going to give a program about it next month. Okay. But the Rutgers Library and Alexandria Library in New Brunswick decided to hardcover the library. And just a tip, if you ever want to find the best books in the library, look for the ones that have been rebound. I mean, because if a library chooses to rebind a book, they want to keep it, and they want to keep it nice. So.
Okay, well, that's a great tip. And so I do know that we found you through the library system. Yes, I know that we were looking for a new teacher for a literature class, and you were recommended. And I'm just so happy that you've been part of the SCAN family for what, it's almost 2 years now?
Yes, yes, it is.
So but you have history with us prior to coming back. So tell us a little bit how you came to SCAN, what you think of SCAN nowadays, and any suggestions on where we might be able to go?
Shortly after I assumed the public relations librarian job at Public Library in Manalapan, John Winnott came into my office one day, and we had a fine chat. Our interests were mutual. Our demographic was also a lot seniors, and I sensed right away his enthusiasm, and I knew SCAN was going to go places.
So John is the founder. John Winnott is the founder of SCAN. 28 years ago, he had this vision that you would have this place in a mall, which is very cutting edge 28 years ago, that would provide social education and opportunities for people to stay together and socialize. So I'm happy that he started it and that we're still here.
Yes.
So you did that, you met John, you were impressed by him. Did you join at that point in time?
No, I didn't. I was busy. Well, a friend of mine actually said, you would very much enjoy it there. This was before I retired, because there are like-minded people who do lots of wonderful intellectual things, and they become friends. I was listening before when you were speaking about how we form a community in our classes, and we do.
Yeah.
So I came and I took language. I've been struggling almost all my life to become fluent in Spanish. It's a struggle. And your teachers here, we've had lots. There seems to be some turnover, which is fine. You learn differently from different people, and they've all been wonderful teachers. So I did that, and then I came back to teach the literature class.
And so in your class, what are some of the books or topics you've been talking about?
Well, we talk about, okay, I told you about the getting to look for the bound books. I just picked up in the great extension collection at Monmouth County these wonderful bound books that I take home and read, and they're so grand. And then I found out they were our Nobel Prize winners. So we started with Kristen Lavensdatter, and then we read another one written in Iceland, The Independent People, and then we read Growth of the Soil, also all Nobel Prize winners, all Scandinavian. So we're sort of a subset of the literature study world that has become familiar with this Scandinavian literature. And one of my students pointed that out to me. He said, I just hadn't realized there were so many. We've read William Faulkner, we've read Jane Austen, we read Bronte, Jane Eyre. We read comical things like Animal Farm. And we read the original Bambi, which was not written particularly for children, but was rather a parody of the Nazism in Germany. It was written by an Austrian, translated by all people, those of you who remember, Whittaker Chambers.
Okay, I don't, but I'm sure some of our audience does.
Yeah, so.
And so presently you're doing Alice in Wonderland?
We did Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
We did Alice in Wonderland, and we did Huckleberry Finn. As I say, we did Faulkner, we did Thomas Hardy, we did, that wonderful one, I can't remember the name of it.
That's fine. So tell me a little bit about your class and your students. I know that you're here on Fridays, and you have a religious following in regards to your students who come every semester. And what is SCAN meant to them in your estimation?
Well, they find that when they come to the SCAN meetings, they're encouraged to think, they're encouraged to read, and they're encouraged to talk about what they read. And we do become friends. And we are not all alike. So it's interesting that we do have this bond of friendship as well as intellectual activity. And they're good people to be with. Yeah,
it was really funny because when I think I'm here about 3.5 years, and who's counting? I mean, it just went so fast. But again, when we changed the name, not so much SCAN, but Social Community Activities Network, it became really clear that socialization is a key for anyone to stay healthy, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I was having some real issues with the word community until after Sandy. I have to tell you, after the superstorm that we had, we were closed for those 8 days, and I didn't know if anyone would come back, but you all came back. I mean, it was amazing that everyone came back. It was like everyone needed to be with their peers and their friends. They needed a cup of coffee, and that's when it became perfectly clear to me that your classes are, every single class is a community unto itself. And I'm so excited.
Excuse me, but the Spanish class I take is one community, and the literature class I teach is another, and they're equally satisfying to me as student and as teacher.
And so, SCAN's made up of a bunch of communities and under this wonderful umbrella. So I'm really excited that we've been able to facilitate that. And then the other thing is that we've just started what we're calling SCAN on Wheels. So we're going into the community, to underserved communities, and bringing all of our kit and caboodle with us, so to speak, and all of our community partners. And a lot of our teachers in the future probably will come with us too, and have classes in the communities, because what we found is most of our members, as we all are aging in some respects, can't travel, don't have cars. So I really think that we need to go to them versus expecting that they're always going to be coming to us.
Yes, yes.
So SCAN on Wheels is taking off, and so it'll be a new community. We have one now in Freehold at the YMCA. We have, we're there one day a week permanently, so that's our newest community.
Good.
So we're really excited. So we have about another minute or something, so any closing remarks or encouragements or anything like that?
Just keep doing what you're doing. These people, I've been in several book clubs and have left unsatisfied because the people don't actually read the books. But in my literature class, they do read, and we read criticism about it, and they're just wonderfully involved people. And it's been a good association, and appreciate it.
Well, again, I know, I mean, with all of the stuff that you brought and all of the information that you have provided the class and to us, I know that I can always go to you and ask for your wonderful skills in editing.
Thank you. Thank you. I do edit.
Yes, and so we will continue to have those conversations because it's really important for us to get information out there into the community. So on behalf of SCAN and our staff, I would really like to thank you for your service and your commitment and the wonderful thing that you do in your class.
Thank you for the opportunity to teach here. It's been a very meaningful experience to me.
Great.
Thanks.
So for the audience, we're hoping that you will come and visit us at SCAN. We're located in the Monmouth Mall. We're in the basement, and take a tour. If you'd like to try Flora's class, you can take a class on us, so to speak, and see if you want to join that particular community. And again, SCAN is located at the Monmouth Mall, and our name is Social Community Activities Network, and hopefully you'll be seeing us in your community in the near future. Thank you.
How to locate SCAN. SCAN is easy to locate once you find the movie theater at Monmouth Mall. As you enter the parking lot from Route 35, the theater is almost directly ahead of you. Drive towards the theater, but go up along the left side into the parking lot. As you approach the end, you will see entrance number 3 on your right. Park and enter the building here. Once inside, you will see a staircase that only goes down. After passing through the doors at the bottom, turn to your left, and SCAN is right there.